Are we happy? I guess we are. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Voodoo Garden. My name is Ray, and this is my best buddy, Rascal. I was going to do a weekend edition today, but things happen. Right about now, everything in my life is kind of up in the air. I'm trying to live my life, but then again, I'm trying to move my life to a new house, so everything is a little bit strange. And Rascal's gotten a little bit strange too, so now he's following me all over the place because he's kind of unsure as to what's going on. Half of his world is packed up and it's in the garage, ain't it? But once we get moved, everything will be okay. So I was going to do a weekend edition today, and then I thought, wait a minute, I have to transplant some plants, but then again, I have to do another episode on the Praxis channel, and so I had no idea what to do, so I took a nap. I did, I just got overwhelmed, and I thought, I don't know what to do. So Rascal and I, we laid on the couch, curled up under a blanket, and we took a nap, didn't we? And now we feel a lot better. So we're going to do a transplant video on the Voodoo Garden channel. Then on the Praxis channel in a couple days, if you tune in over there, you're going to see what I do to prep all of this mess to get ready to move. I'm not moving for a few weeks, but there are certain things that I got to do to the plants to get them ready. And I'm going to show you how I do that. Do I smell okay? Hey, why don't you go play and sniff plants, and I'm going to show all the happy people how we transplant, okay? Yeah. As soon as I get done with this, I got to go play with him. So why don't you guys come on over here, sit next to Rascal, and let's get started, shall we? I wanted to show you these because I can't wait. Certain things in the garden just can't wait until it's convenient to film. I mentioned that I grow my plants in little tiny cups, and then I wait until I see the roots. Now take a look at this. I hope the glare isn't too much for you. You can see the roots. Yep, they're starting to show on the sides. And one way that I know that it's time to transplant these into larger containers. Now I could transplant these outside if it was the growing season, but I still have a good month until I can take these outside. So now I have to pot them up, which means take them from one pot size to the next bigger pot size so that they can have a little bit of growing space for their roots and also get healthier before it's time to take them out. Because if I leave them in this cup, they're going to do okay, but what's going to happen is the roots are going to start getting all root bound, and then when I take them outside, they're not going to do quite as well as they could. I like to give them as much root space as possible because roots are the foundation to a healthy plant. This one is starting to get the same way. You can see the roots right here. And if you want to see something really cool, look at this one. Cotton has one heck of an amazing root structure. Yep. This plant is not that old. I planted it on the 20th of February. It's been a few weeks. It germinated and grew all these roots at the same time. Now, as for when it's time to transplant something into a bigger pot, there is no real set time, but if I were to give some kind of a tip, I would say as soon as the plant is as tall as the pot. Now, these plants are almost as tall as the pot, so I figured, what the heck, I'm not going to wait till next week to do it or they'll be too tall. So this is perfect. The plants are just the same size as the pot, so now it's time to transplant them. Let's get started with that, and let's back you up a little bit. Smell the cotton. Smells good, huh? I have a pre-made mix, and I've mentioned this a billion times before. Those of you who have never heard of this, it is 1/2 regular potting soil, 1/2 cocoa peat, which is coir, and a heavy sprinkling of vermiculite. It makes for a very light, very spongy soil that is absolutely perfect for growing plants. Now the amount of soil that I put in here is about, I'd say about half full. Give it a little tap. And I don't water my plants the day before I transplant them. I want to make sure that the soil is just a little bit dry because moist soil tends to fall apart. And when it falls apart, it may damage the roots a little bit. So I like to make sure it's just a little bit dry. I put my fingers over the top, turn it upside down, and push in. That's why I like these little plastic cups. They have a very bouncy bottom. You just barely push it in, squeeze it a little bit, and gently flip it over. Don't do anything to the roots. Turn it over, and sometimes the soil will get a little bit messy, but you know what? It's not going to hurt them too awful much. There. Now you can plant them deeper in the cup, but I really don't need to. So I'm going to put them right here. Toss in a little soil to level it out. Don't want it all pushing to one side. I like to do it on top of a container because this can really get to be messy. Shake it around a little bit. Press it down just gently with your fingers. And we are all set. Now comes the fun part. Well, actually it's all fun. The watering. As far as watering, I just want to make sure that it gets a good soaking, but I don't want to have it soggy. You want to make sure all the soil gets wet. Now, as far as how much water, I can't tell you. That has to do with how dry your soil is, what it's made of, and what size pot you have. What I like to do is I like to just feel the cup with the soil when it's dry, and then I feel it when it's wet. You get a hang of this after a while, you know? I can't teach you how to have a feeling for the feel of soil. So what you're going to need to do is teach yourself. Take a cup, fill it up with soil, and feel how heavy it is. Then add water to it and feel it again. You're going to know the approximate weight of the cup. And that's how I do it. People say, Ray, how do you keep from overwatering all the time? You know, I overwater my plants all the time. Well, take a little bit more care and figure out what the weight of the soil is, what the soil looks like when it's dry, what it looks like when it's wet. That's what gardening is all about, folks, is learning to see what's going on with your plants and your soil. You can't just throw a seed and walk away. That's not gardening. That's just carelessness. And if you want to garden, you have to get involved. That's what it is. This is a process where we actually get involved with the plant, the soil, the whole process of growing a plant. That is gardening. So you need to know how to water your plants. If you don't know how, like I said, poke the holes in the bottom and it will drain out the excess water. Not a problem at all. Now, I'm going to do a demonstration on how to tell if you've overwatered your plant. A person on, I think it was YouTube, asked me a question, Ray, how do you know if you've overwatered a plant, and what do you do if you do overwater the plant? And I don't, like I just mentioned a minute ago, I don't overwater my plants. It's not that I'm a great gardener, it's just that I've done this so long, I know how much water to give them. But I'm going to demonstrate what to do if you overwater your plants and you don't have holes on the bottom. It's very simple. Oh crap, I've overwatered my plant. What was I thinking? What am I going to do? Sarcasm. You see how dark this got? You can see the water going down, so it's really hard to overwater. But if you do, you can tell. It's going to be really kind of soupy, kind of wet looking. The only thing that you can do is put your fingers in here, like this, and flip it upside down slowly. And you know what you got to do? Don't squeeze that soil. No cheating, folks. You screwed it up, you make it better. And the way that you make it better is you just hold it upside down for about maybe a couple minutes. Yep, it's going to suck, but you know what? I guess that's the price you pay for being careless. Hold it upside down, let it drain out for about a couple minutes, and that's all you need to do. Don't squeeze the soil, because when you have wet soil like this, if you squeeze it, you can compact the spaces in the soil. What that'll do is lock out any chance of it getting oxygen, and then, here I am holding this trying to talk, and then with a lack of oxygen, compact soil, moist soil, you know what that leads to? Damping off. Damping off is when you get a fungus inside your soil, and it's due to improper watering and not enough oxygen going in there. Yep. So make sure that you let this drain. See how it's stopping? Shake it a little bit. There. Put this in a warm place and don't give it any more water until you can see that the soil lightens up down here, and let that be a lesson to you. This should be a learning experience. Whoops, I overwatered, but I drained it all out and now it's going to be just fine. It's not a game ender or anything like that. And you know what? This extra water has nutrients in it because you just bleached it or leached it out of this plant by overwatering. Use that to water another plant. Recycle, reuse, reduce. Yes, I know the old saying. All right, now, this tomato is repotted. Now, when you repot, don't forget, like I have before, I like to put a piece of tape with the name of this plant, and I just move it to the next pot. See, if I were to write it on the cup, then I'd have to rewrite it on the cup over and over again. I just use masking tape, and I do that. Yep, so that's how we transplant our plants into bigger pots. I'm not going to go through it with all of these. You saw me do it with one, and it's just that simple. It's just that simple. Now this is going to buy me some time before I have to transplant it outside. This will go in this cup for about, I'd say, 3 weeks. Yeah, about 3 weeks. In 3 weeks, this plant is going to be really big. It's going to be bigger than this cup, and it's going to be time for me to either one, put it into a larger pot, or two, take it outside. Now you can transplant these from one pot to the next, to the next, to the next, but each time you transplant, it's going to go through just a little bit of shock because it's changing environments. Now what I hope to do is hope to be able to take this and put it into its final home, either outside in a pot or outside in the ground, one way or the other, and then it's going to do just fine. Keep these in bright light, but not in a sunny window because that can roast these plants like you would not believe. Okay, I think we're all set. If you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the comment section below the video on YouTube. Not on my Facebook or not in private. Put them in the comment section below on YouTube and I'll be sure to get to them, okay? Let me get these moved to the side because I want to show you something else. I just received it in the mail. Everything changes so quickly around here. I never really know what I'm going to film from week to week. Folks have asked me, Ray, what are you going to film for next week? And I'm thinking, I don't know. I'll know when the time comes. And today the time comes to well, not transplant, but to plant this because I received a very large envelope from a friend. Thank you very much for this. And it's Hawaiian red plumeria. Anybody that's never grown a plumeria, look it up. It has a very beautiful, fragrant flower, and you know me, I love good smells, and I just can't resist it. And I received this in the mail in a large envelope with a few other seeds. This is a cutting from a plumeria shrub, and it's the strangest thing. It looks like a turd or a cigar. Okay, it looks I gotta stop comparing things to doo-doo. This looks like a cigar, and it actually smells kind of fragrant in a way, but not like a flower fragrant. I don't know. But I looked it up, and it turns out when you take a cutting off of plumeria, you're supposed to take the cutting and then let it dry for a few weeks until the bottom crusts over, or they call it scabs over. I hate the word scab. How about crusts over? Then you're ready to plant it. Now this one apparently was sold in a shop somewhere because it came in a bag and everything. I'm going to show you what this looks like up close, and I'm going to show you what I do to transplant it into some dirt, and then let's keep our fingers crossed and hope it grows. Take a real close look. I'm going to show you what's growing on at the top. It's a weird looking thing. This is the scab at the bottom. And it took me a while to figure out what the bottom was and what the top was. And it's just some weird looking stick. But if you looked at it really close, which you can't with this camera, you'll see the little nubs where I'm assuming it would sprout. But look at the tip of this. See that? It looks like it's got green buds coming out of the top. This leads me to believe that this is where it's going to sprout the new leaves. So now I'm going to plant this. And since I've never done it before, why not just do it without knowing what I'm doing? That seems to work out best for me. Now what I'm going to do is just take my potting mix. The cool thing about this potting mix that I make is it's all purpose. It's great for succulents, it's great for tropicals, it's great for vegetables. It works for everything. Now, I don't know how deep I'm supposed to plant this, so I'm going to just push it all the way down till it touches the bottom of the pot. And then we're going to just toss in dirt, or soil. I call it dirt. I call it soil when I'm on camera. When I'm not on camera, I just call it dirt. All right, let's toss this in here, move it around a little bit, press it down. I want to make sure this is straight up because you can't adjust it once it's in here. Press it down gently, maybe just a tad more. And I believe that's what we need to do. Give it some water. Now the nice thing about these pots that I have, and I don't know what type they are, so please don't ask me because I have no idea. I bought them at Walmart and they were on sale. They have a built-in removable drip tray. So if I overwater, it goes into the drip tray, and if I feel the weight and I go, I think I overwatered. What I'll do is I'll hold the soil and I'll tilt it just a little bit, and the water comes out of the bottom drip tray, and I can save a plant. That's kind of nice. Let's see. Maybe just a tad more. And according to everything I've read on these, you only have to water them once and then leave them alone until they start getting some kind of growth at the top. They said that you don't want to overwater them. That's the worst thing you could do. Don't overwater them. So I won't overwater. I'm going to put this in underneath some lights in the grow room, the voodoo room, and I will give you an update as soon as I see something going on with this. How cool is this? Yep. Doesn't feel overwatered. Nope, everything's okay. Thank you very much for the plumeria. I really do appreciate it. This is going to do perfect in the voodoo garden. Normally I wouldn't be planting things right now before I move because I'm trying to divest myself of things before I move, but when you get a live plant like this in the mail, you really don't have a choice. So even though it was not something I intended to do, I'm going to enjoy it nonetheless, and it's going to have a good home here. So thank you very much for sending me that. By the way, somebody sent me plumeria seeds, so I'm going to plant those as well. And plus, the same person who sent me this also sent me some bird of paradise seeds. So I'm going to plant those, and I have a bird of paradise. It's about, I don't know, 3.5 feet tall, and I grew it from a seed. Yep. And last episode on the Praxis channel, last thing I want to show you today is, remember on the last episode of the Praxis channel, I showed you how to pollinate a loofah flower. Remember, I had the male flower and the female flower? All right. I'm going to zoom right in. I want to show you something because this is very exciting, okay? Take a look at this. We had the male flower up here, and here is the male flower. Yep. As soon as it is done pollinating, it dies. It does not last long. Squash flowers, zucchini flowers, pumpkin flowers, they usually don't last very long, but it did its work, and let me show you what's going on with the female flower. Beautiful. I know, it's a huge honkin' surprise. That is a beauty. That is success. Now here's the flower tip right here. And when you do get a flower pollinated, don't be tempted to just rip the flower off. You don't want to hurt this. This flower will eventually fall off. And this is the little stem fruit. And let me show you something right here. This is about what it looked like right here. Remember the little stem thingy? Yep, that's a new one coming out. And this is what it looks like. This is my loofah. Yep. Pollination worked. The facts of life, kids. It works. It is such a good day in the Garden of Voo up here in the grow room. Thanks everybody for joining me. I was dying to show you my loofah. It's doing great. Don't know how big it's going to get in this pot. Chances are, if it's growing in a pot like this, it's not going to get that big. And also, once a plant is fruiting, it's very difficult to transplant them and not have them abort the fruit. So this was totally unexpected. I had no idea it was going to do this soon. And so I kind of cornered myself. I can't transplant this. So I'm going to give this the best possible food, the best possible light I can to try and get this as big as possible. And then next year, I'm going to grow one outside in the sun and see how big I can get it. Because for me, it's not so much the size of the plant or the size of the fruit. That doesn't impress me. It's just the fact that it works. You know, what I'm doing here worked, and I'm very happy with that. So I may have the world's tiniest loofah sponge, but that's okay. I don't know. Maybe I'll use it to wash the inside of my nose or my ears. Who knows? I might have the world's smallest loofah and give it away as a prize. Could be. Stranger things have happened in the Voodoo Garden. Thanks everybody for joining me for the transplanting and also the overwatering and the loofah surprise. I really do appreciate it. Don't forget, in a few days over on the Praxis channel, I'm going to show you how I prep a lot of these plants, well, some of the plants, for moving, and I have some drastic stuff that I'm going to be showing you, and hopefully it's going to help you in case you ever have to move, or if you want to change the look of your plant to suit your environment. It should help you, okay? Thanks everybody. I got to get going. This is Ray in the Voodoo Garden. I'm out of here. Plumeria.